Hey everyone, and welcome to part 6 of Behind the Design, where I'm going through the process I took to create this app design and case study for a Smart Diffuser app. If you're new to the series, make sure to catch up on the previous 5 videos and check out the Behance case study if you want a little bit more context as to the project that we're going through here. I can't believe we're already on part 6 of 7 in this series, and in this part we're going to be talking about designs. So this is definitely one of the most exciting episodes, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it. First, we're going to be talking about the visual system and how I came up with that for this app. So as you can see here, the colors are really fun and kind of bright, but also really grounding and natural. And that's completely intentional because if you think about the types of people who are really interested in aromatherapy and holistic health and using these types of cues to enrich their lives, it's a lot of people who enjoy the natural parts of life and who don't necessarily like synthetic things and synthetic scents, but want to be more grounded in their experiences. And so this color palette is really meant to speak to those people in particular. At the same time, I didn't want them to be all neutrals because I did want some standout colors to make the app fun and interesting to interact with, and to make it obvious when certain interactions are available. So pretty much I wanted the buttons to stand out. I wanted certain things to stand out whenever they needed to stand out. So I needed some colors in the color palette that were going to let me communicate those things. And color choices and things like that are things that really reach back to research. So as I talked about in one of the previous videos, I interviewed a bunch of different people who would be potentially using this app, and I really got to know them and know what they like and don't like, what they're motivated by and what frustrates them. And so I was able to have this group of people collectively in mind when I was coming up with these colors. And of course, I had to make certain assumptions. I didn't ask what their favorite colors were, but I did kind of reach back and remember who they were and try to assume what types of colors they might like. The typefaces I used were Obviously and Open Sans, and these are both Adobe fonts, and you can also find Open Sans on Google Fonts completely for free. So these were fonts that I just really liked and I felt fit with the general vibe of the app that I was trying to get across. Again, I wanted it to be grounding and simple and easy to use, but I also wanted a little bit of interest, which I think that Obviously font really brings in a little bit of visual interest, and I just love the way it looked. As for the iconography, I definitely didn't have time to design every single one of these icons. So it was important that I could find somewhere to source them from and then make them all look cohesive. So where I looked for that is Adobe Stock. And so if you've never used Adobe Stock before, especially for a project like this, it can actually be really helpful. It's not just for stock photos, but it's also for things like icons and vectors. So my little tip for you in this section would be, if you're using Adobe Stock for icons, filter your search to vectors or Adobe Illustrator, and that way you can come up with all of the options you have for things that can be manipulated in Adobe XD or Illustrator. So I found all of these icons on Adobe Stock, some of them from completely different packages that I could just pull together and edit the line quality so that they were all really cohesive. Okay, now I want to move on from the visual system and move into some of the design decisions that I had to make throughout this process. The first one was the biggest one, which is ditching the SOS section. So originally in this app, I wanted to have a tab called SOS where you would basically go if you needed to maybe calm down from a panic attack. Maybe you were feeling really angry in a certain moment and you needed some aromatherapeutic support for just individual moments that you need support in immediately. And so this is the opposite of the concept of rituals, which is the main concept of the app, where you're setting up a ritual, you set it and forget it, it comes on every single day at that same time that you've set it up for, and it's a routine, it's a ritual, it's every single day, and it's supporting your daily life and routine. This SOS concept is completely different. It answers a very different problem, and although I thought that it was important and my research showed that people may be interested in it, I ended up not including it because it wasn't the true focus of the app, and it answered a very different question and problem. And so when I had it in the app, there were a lot of different things that you could do in the app, and it was almost too much and it was a little bit overwhelming. So this is something that I ended up nixing for that reason, and it was a hard decision because I really liked the idea and I know that it does have value, but I think it's just a lesson that keeping it simple is sometimes the best because it will allow my users to get the very most out of that really cornerstone concept of rituals. Another big design decision was figuring out what the individual slots on the app would look like in different states. So, for example, we needed to communicate to users when it was time to fill that slot, when it was already filled, if it's identified or not identified, meaning if they needed to tell the app what oil is in there, if it's diffusing, if it's empty. There are just a bunch of different states that I needed to figure out how to communicate each one of these things. And so that was a big design decision because I wanted it to feel just urgent enough that someone would feel like it's important to look at that and, you know, understand, oh, I need to fill this up, or oh, this is running low, or oh, I need to identify this oil, but not so urgent that they felt overwhelmed and they felt that they weren't in control of the experience or the app. The last big design decision that I will talk about here is including a way to repurchase oils. So this is something that at first I was a little bit hesitant to include because I didn't want users using this app to feel like they were being pushed to keep ordering more and more oils. But I had to remember who I'm creating this case study for. I'm not just creating it for potential users to see, oh, this is a really interesting app and I would love something like this to use in my daily life. I'm also using this as a portfolio piece to try to get freelance clients. And so I have to also think of the business decisions and the business opportunities that my app and my idea have. And so I can appear more valuable to potential clients. And so I did end up including a few screens that would show how someone would be told that, oh, this oil is almost out. Go ahead and go here to order a new one, and make that really seamless and easy for them, but only when they need it. They're not really being asked to do that unless they're running out of the oil, and it would be helpful to them to prompt them to repurchase it. And so if you want to look more into the business opportunities that I included for this to get a little bit of inspiration, feel free to check out the Behance case study because I've outlined them there in a little bit more detail. And you can also look at that case study if you want to see all of the moments that I designed out for this app. There are quite a few of them that I included on the case study, and so I'm not going to go through every decision made for every single one in this video, but if you check it out and you have any questions, feel free to leave them below in the comments. Okay, so now to get into the nitty-gritty of how I actually created these designs. As you may have been able to guess, I used Adobe XD to create all of these screens and prototypes and animations even. As I mentioned in the previous video, I used components to pretty much make up all of the different pieces that fit together to make this app. And then I used Auto Animate to kind of animate them together within the prototype to make them really come to life. And I definitely want to make more videos on Auto Animate really soon, so if you have any questions or things that you want to learn how to do with Auto Animate in XD, please leave them below in the comments, and I definitely am going to make a video about that topic really soon. So basically what Auto Animate is it takes two screens or components and looks at the difference between the two and is able to animate the difference and animate the transition. That means that it's a super easy tool for animating and prototyping because there's no timeline or anything like that, or keyframes, which definitely come in handy in certain cases, like for a way more complex animation. But for Adobe XD and for designing experiences like this one, Auto Animate is such a great tool and makes animation so easy. I also wanted to call out that I have two mini tutorials on my Instagram. One teaches you how to animate the tab bar that I created, and the other teaches you how to animate this glowing button that I also use within the app. So if you're interested in learning more about Auto Animate and you don't want to wait for a future video, you can hop on over to my Instagram and check out those carousels. I just did really mini videos, basically micro tutorials on how to do that, and it's super simple. You will definitely be able to pick it up quickly. Alright guys, that's all I have for this video. I really have enjoyed this series so far, and we only have one more episode left. So tune in for the next one. It's going to be all about how I put together this case study and how I made it flow and what I decided to include and all of that stuff. So if you're interested in that, definitely subscribe so that you get notified when it comes out. And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. I really appreciate you watching this video and being here. And yeah, this has been super fun so far, so I can't wait to see you in the very last video. Bye!